Hey folks, I want to introduce you to a friend of mine, Dr. Richard Harden. We are on the same mission, which is waking up America. We just have different paths. So stay tuned for some information on how you can keep up with Richard and all his work.
Visit Richard's website at rahardin.com. That's the World Wide Web at rahardin.com. At his website, you can see a summary of the 6 books he has written, where purchases may be made. He also has a link to 18 videos on YouTube and several blogs about Christian beliefs. If you prefer, visit amazon.com/Kindle and type in Richard Harden to see and purchase his books.
Every day, the men and women of the United States Marine Corps stand ready to defend the American way of life. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Sometimes writers feel lost, unsure why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing into full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, offering manuscript critiques and line edits through a mentoring editorial style. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services, visit blackwolfeditorial.com.
Having a place to go after school will make you a better student. Having an outlet to express yourself will make you a better artist. Having something to do together will make you a better family. At The Y, we're helping build better friends, listeners, writers, swimmers, scientists, and musicians, one chance at a time. Give the gift of opportunity. Support The Y at ymca.net. The Y, for a better us.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
The world around us is an amazing place, filled with beauty and with science. But let's face it, sometimes the science can be so confusing that it takes a PhD to understand it. Well, you're in luck. I just happen to have a PhD. Come and take a seat. Perhaps I can explain the world around us in a way we all can understand. Welcome to Conversations in Science. I'm Dr. Judy L. Moore. Call me Doc. 'Twas the night before Christmas. Oh, okay, maybe not. Wrong type of thing. Hi, guys. I am Dr. Judy L. Moore, and I do have a PhD. My PhD is in physics and astronomy. And, of course, that makes me start to think some really bizarre things. We're coming up to a really, really big time. Santa is going to be coming very soon. But I was starting to think the other day, there is a very, very good reason why no one has ever been able to find Santa's workshop. I've come up to this very important conclusion.
How did you find all
wrong
this?
Spot.
Oh, Doc, come on. Santa's workshop is supposed to be in the North Pole.
Yes,
ho, ho.
Santa's workshop
Merry
is
Christmas.
in the North Pole.
But nobody's ever found it.
Yes, now here's the thing. What would you say, Jess, if I told you that what we all know is the North Pole is really the South Pole?
Doc, have you been drinking too much Christmas eggnog?
No, I haven't, even though my 15-year-old has asked me that very same question. Here's the thing. The Earth has got a magnetic field that goes around it. And magnetic fields go from what we call the North Pole to the South Pole. They're actually a directional force. But the magnetic field that goes around the Earth actually goes from the South Pole to the North Pole. Now, here's another
Wait
thing.
a minute. It goes from the South Pole to the North Pole? So my compass is pointing south when it says it's pointing north?
I'm just getting to that. Okay. A compass, the way a compass works is it has a little tiny bar magnet inside of it, where one side has got magnetized north and the other side is magnetized south. Now, if you were to hold two North Pole magnets together, they will repel.
I think we've all done that.
Repel.
I think we've all played with magnets like that. I know I have.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So a South Pole and a North Pole will attract one another, but the North Pole and a North Pole will repel. Okay?
That
so
makes
opposites
sense.
attract.
That makes sense, Doc.
Okay. So our compass, the North Pole on our compass, is pointing towards geographical north. If that was the case, well, wouldn't logic dictate that it's being attracted towards the South Pole?
What if the compass magnet was actually the south end of the magnet, Doc?
Well, that's the thing. This is what it comes down to. It's actually a naming convention partly as well. Okay. We all know the sun rises in the east. Yes?
Yeah, it comes in and blinds me every morning, Doc.
Well, the term east comes from a Germanic term that means dawn. And west comes from a word that means evening. Makes sense. Rises in the east, sets in the west. Now, they went through and defined the word south because south comes from a word that means sun. So, considering most of our society originates from cultures that are in the northern hemisphere, if you're in the northern hemisphere, the sun travels in the south. So that is the domain of the sun, hence the term south. And the word north comes from a word that means behind the rising sun.
What's this have to do with Santa Claus and his workshop, Doc?
What it has to do with Santa's and his workshop is because we define the North Pole of a magnet as the section of the magnet that points towards behind the rising sun.
Okay.
Okay? So, we have always called the North Pole the North Pole. And we always say that Santa's workshop's in the North Pole, but you know what? It's not a North Pole at all. It's a South Pole. There's some other things going on as well. If that is the South Pole, then the North Pole is really Antarctica. I'm sorry, Santa's workshop, it's in Antarctica. But there's some other reasons and other explanations as to why I think it's in Antarctica, not the Arctic Circle.
Okay, wait a minute, Doc. You mean...
Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas!
Is actually in the
that dude.
South Pole.
He's in Antarctica. He's not in the Arctic Circle at all.
What's he doing in Antarctica? Everybody's been looking for him at the other end of the earth. How did he move to Antarctica all of a sudden,
That's
Doc?
why no one can find his workshop, because they've been looking in the wrong spot. The North Pole is in Antarctica. There's the first thing. Then you have the next thing. The Arctic Circle, there's no land. Underneath that ice, there's no land. One of the reasons that they keep telling us that no one's been able to find Santa's workshop is because it's underground. How can it be underground when there's no land?
Good point there, Doc. Good point there. Gotta give you that one. I was always told when I was a kid it was hidden by magic.
Oh, well, see, here's the other thing, okay? You're going to hide it with magical lights. Yeah, the northern lights are pretty cool. Southern lights are better. We get them more often. It's more magical down here. Now, here's the other reasons why I think it's actually in Antarctica. New Zealand is one of the first countries in the world that will see the new day. So we'll get Christmas before you guys do. Okay,
Yeah,
so Santa has to deliver his presents to New Zealand before the States.
True.
Significantly before New Zealand. Okay?
True.
Think about it from a delivery point of view. Aren't you going to want to maximize the amount of time you have at your workshop to maximize your production time before you have to head out the door and deliver all those presents? So aren't you going to want to be as close as possible to your first drop-off point?
Probably. I could see that. I mean, UPS uses that kind of stuff all the time.
Exactly. So Antarctica is not far away from New Zealand. In fact, Christchurch, New Zealand is considered to be the gateway to Antarctica. The New Zealand Air Force has got a joint base with the U.S. Air Force.
No, I thought it was the Navy, Doc. I thought it was the Navy.
Is it the Navy?
Well,
no, I'm pretty sure it was the Air Force because I see those Air Force symbols all the time.
Hang on.
Oh, dear. She's Googling it now. I've done it now. What have I done?
U.S. military, Antarctica.
What type of base is here in Christchurch, New Zealand? Is it an Air Force base or is it a naval base? I'm sure it's Air Force.
I'm looking that one up. I was looking up something else, but I'll look that up real quick. Foreign bases in New Zealand. Operation Deep Freeze, the American military base at Christchurch Airport. The Navy left in 1998. So I was right. It was Navy at some point. But the Air Force continues. Point. So you're
Thank
right.
You. It is Air Force.
It's Air Force now.
Okay, so here's my thought process. We have New Zealand is actually one of the gateways to Antarctica. And I secretly think that the U.S. Air Force is involved with helping Santa deliver some of his presents.
Well, NORAD does track him every year.
Well, see, here's the other thing. They only travel to the poles on a frequent basis in summer weather. And that's the same with the Arctic Circle as well. Okay, it's only in summer because things freeze and it gets really, really cold. And it gets cold in summer as well. But see, the South Island, the Southern Hemisphere at the moment, we're heading into summer. We're approaching the longest day in the year. So Antarctica at the moment's in summer. The Arctic Circle at the moment's in winter. Travel's going to be much easier to get to and from the south area, Antarctica. And I think the U.S. military, the Air Force, goes down occasionally and helps Santa bring his presents. And then they probably ship them all the way to the Northern Hemisphere and everywhere else. Does that make sense? Maybe?
Well, our military does help out with a lot of humanitarian things. There's Operation Toy Drop. There's Toys for Tots. There's all kinds of stuff that the military has to do with toys. Believe it or not, Doc.
Well, and the military has got a lot of secrets that they don't tell the public. So I think the reason, honestly, why we have never been able to find Santa's workshop is because, well, it's not in the Arctic Circle. It's in Antarctica, where the North Pole really is. And there's land. And it just makes sense. It's summer down there. And it's much easier for transport. And yeah, there's got to be another reason why, that's just my thought.
Well, I think that's pretty interesting, Doc. So you're telling me all these years, everybody's been looking, the whole planet has essentially been looking for Santa in the wrong place.
Yep.
These guys are actually in Antarctica.
Yep. That's what I think.
Well,
and I've given you scientific reasoning for it.
There
as well as logistical reasoning.
There is at least land down there.
Exactly. There's land down there. We know that there's land under that ice. It makes much more sense because we're a lot closer to the first day. The first country that sees the new day. We're a lot closer, so he can maximize production. I'm pretty sure it's summer, so getting to and from the Antarctic regions and the polar regions are actually going to be nice and simple. It's not going to be too hard. So he's not going to freeze to death while he's flying his sleigh. and he probably gets a lift from the U.S. Air Force. They probably help him out big time. Everything makes sense. Not only that, the magnetics of the planet, it's still the North Pole down there. It is the magnetic North Pole. It's not a geographical one.
I think you might be getting me there. But I still know thousands of kids that are going to go,
Oh, well, they might agree with me, because at least that way they can go through and say with definitive answers to their parents, saying that, the reason why we can't find this workshop is because we're looking in the wrong spot.
Well, true. They could.
Right. Well, I've had my 2 cents.
All right.
That's
Doc,
my thoughts.
I bet on 3 we could wish everybody a Merry Christmas.
I sure we can.
2.
You're going to count?
Yep. 1.
Okay.
2. 3. Merry Christmas!
Well, that brings us to an end of another Conversations in Science. If you have any questions about science and about some of the world around us, feel free to drop me a line. I'm on Twitter, and you can find me at Judy L. Moore, or you can look me up on Facebook, Judy L. Moore, or you can drop me a line on my personal website, judylmoore.com. I think you're seeing the pattern here. Then, of course, if you are interested in some of the other projects I do, which is the writing and editing, feel free to check me out on blackwolfeditorial.com. But then, of course, don't forget, if you are wanting more information about the science, you can also contact us at the station with the email of science@klrnradio.com. Then, of course, there's my cohort that keeps going through and popping up.
You mean me, Doc? Well, for anybody who wants to track me down, you can find me on Twitter at Jessie's POV. And you can also drop me a line at the station at Jessie's POV at KLRNRadio.com.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Sometimes writers feel lost, unsure why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing into full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, offering manuscript critiques and line edits through a mentoring editorial style. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services, visit blackwolfeditorial.com.